Should you consider Airbnb as a business? Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. Now today I'm filming in Buenaventura, Colombia. Now I'm in a private beach over here. I came on a 1-hour boat ride out here and it's pretty mellow, so I decided to share with you a little bit about whether or not the pros and cons of doing Airbnb. I used to be a really strong advocate for Airbnb when it came out, and you used to be able to make a lot of money in it, and people were, they were doing seminars and there was all kinds of stuff. But like many things, over time they get regulated, and as regulation kicks in, the opportunities start decreasing precipitously. So let me go over some of the pros and cons. The pros, first off, you can make a lot of money. For example, one place I had was renting for about $2,500 a month, but as an Airbnb it could make up to $12,000 a month. I was renting for about $400 a night, and it was really nice. I mean, it was renting a lot. In fact, I lived in the place and I just had it listed all the time. Typically would rent Friday and Saturdays, and I would make $800. So every weekend I'd pretty much just take a trip somewhere, and it would pay for my trip for me and my ex-girlfriend. So it was really nice. There were a lot of opportunities. And again, there was a lot of money to be made. However, now with regulation, Airbnb started skewing a lot of the rental markets around the country, like especially in places that are real popular, around the world actually. So a lot of big cities around the world have started regulating it. New York, Miami, LA, etc. So what they'll do is they'll only allow you to rent 30 days or more. Or you can rent per night, but only 3 months out of the year, and you have to live in the property. So, they make all these weird rules that make it kind of difficult. And again, if you rent it by the month, you're not going to rent it for $12,000. No one's going to pay that. They'll only pay $400 a night if they're going to rent for a couple nights. So that place that used to rent for $2,500 now is rented for about the same or less, $2,300 to $2,500 a month. So I'm actually making a little less because now Airbnb adds like a 20% fee for their services, like a 20% fee for city taxes. So even though it's like $2,300, the person is probably going to pay like 50% more. You're going to pay around $3,300. So, you have to end up cutting your prices down. So I'm actually making less money doing it on Airbnb than I did just renting it as a rental. That's just one example. I had over 20 Airbnbs at one point. I'd manage Airbnbs for other people. So it's just not the same anymore. Now, if you live somewhere where there aren't regulations, I have friends who have Airbnbs and they're in cities that are unincorporated. Those are awesome. I have a friend, Jeremy, that has unincorporated Airbnbs over by LAX. That's the airport here in Los Angeles, and that's an excellent location. A lot of travelers come to LA, so it's really good, but there aren't that many places that are unincorporated inside of big cities. So beware. Otherwise you can go get a permit, pay taxes, and just all sorts of red tape. It's just not worth it. The second benefit is that you can rent places that are not real desirable. For example, in the past we've rented our couch, the laundry room. I've actually put tents in the backyard. I mean, those are pretty hard to rent. If you want to put an ad on apartments.com or Zillow or something like that for a couch, you're not going to have very many people responding, if any. Or a tent, forget it. But Airbnb allows you to rent like places that other people might not want to rent, like laundry rooms or basements or places that are not very desirable. So that's a really good thing, and that actually continues to be like that. You can make money off of unused spaces. Typically undesirable spaces, especially if you live in a big city where rents and hotels are really expensive. Here in Los Angeles, a hotel is going to cost you over $200 a night easily if you stay here in the city. And I live in the city, so people are gladly willing to pay, $1,000 to sleep on the couch for the month. You know, plus all the fees, they're probably gonna pay like $1,500, but they'll pay it because they know it's still cheaper than a hotel. $200 a night, you know, that they would eat that up in about seven and a half nights or something like that. So still much cheaper. So that's definitely a big pro. And if that's your situation, I would definitely recommend Airbnb for that. All right, now for the cons. Number one, this is probably the worst one. People complaining and getting their money back. It's really easy for people to get their money back, and it's very uncool. I mean, I have places that are spotless. I mean, we clean them, they are really clean. Cleaner than hotels I stay in. The guests will come in and something changes. You know, they rented it for a whole month and they decided, you know, they only want to stay a few days, or their trip gets canceled, or they want to go stay with their family instead. I mean, all kinds of stuff. The people oftentimes won't even contact you because they're embarrassed. They'll contact Airbnb and say, oh, the place is filthy. And I'll say, what are you talking about? And they'll say, well, here's some pictures. And they'll say, and then they always sound very authoritative. They say, oh, we've already confirmed what the guest is saying. I'm like, how could you confirm it if you haven't been there? So then they'll send me the pictures like days later, of course, right? They make it difficult for you. You look at the pictures and the guest will get their camera and go underneath the bed in a dark corner and zoom in like on a hairball, or, you know, on some dust or something like that. And they'll make it seem like that's the whole apartment. You know what I mean? There's gonna be dust behind furniture or underneath cabinets or something. That's inevitable. It's impossible not to have any. And those are the pictures they'll send. Or sometimes they'll even dirty up stuff. They'll take pictures of it, they'll send it in. I've had guests get pictures off the internet of like bed bugs and send that in and say they had bed bugs. They'll get pictures of dead insects, of rodent droppings off the internet. They'll send them to Airbnb. They'll say that there's rodents, there's roaches. I mean, people are very creative and they know how to use Photoshop. So they'll Photoshop stuff, they'll put it on, you know, they'll show your cabinet with rat droppings or something, or they'll just go get something and pour it out on the counter and they'll say they're rat droppings or roaches. I mean, people are really creative, and when there's money involved, they'll do it. And Airbnb is never gonna be on your side. They're always gonna be on the guest side, so that's really frustrating. One time I actually had this guest that stayed in the house paying, I was gonna get paid $3,000 for the month for 30 days. On the 29th day, the guest complains that there's cameras on the property. So Airbnb contacts me and says, hey, we're gonna give the guy a full refund. You have cameras and you didn't report it. I said, cameras? I don't have any cameras. And then they sent me a picture. Oh yeah, in the alleyway, I had a dummy camera. In the alleyway, nowhere on the property. And they said, well, it's a violation of like the person's privacy or something like that. I said, what's a dummy camera? It doesn't actually work. Doesn't matter. They refunded the person the full $3,000. Not only did I lose the $3,000, I got stuck with cleaning the place. I got stuck with paying the utilities, the Wi-Fi, the trash, the electricity, everything for the whole month. Very uncool, and they've done that to me multiple times. I've even had times where people use like fake credit cards, or they cancel the payment on their credit card after they stay there, and Airbnb won't eat it. They make you eat it. They subtract it from you. So you're out of luck, and you don't really have a way of recuperating the money because you didn't do business directly with that person. They did business with Airbnb, not with you. So then you're out of luck. You're not getting any of your money back. Con number 3, it's a big responsibility, and it really limits you, your travel, and it ties you down. Now, when you hear all the stuff on the radio and on the internet, advertising Airbnb, all the money you can make and all that, it sounds really glorious, but renting property is much, much easier than doing Airbnb. Airbnb and hotels is very difficult. People feel entitled to complain, so they do. They complain a lot, and they want to be catered to. You know, they call you in the middle of the night. You know, they ask for blankets. They want you to come in and show them how to use a remote. They want you to come in and show you how to work the heater, the air conditioner, or, oh, I hear a noise outside, can you come check it out? I mean, I'm a landlord, I'm a manager for units. All that stuff, I don't have to do with any of that stuff with tenants. If tenants ever ask stuff like that, I just ignore them. It's like, that's your problem, you know? Call the police or something. But Airbnb, if you don't do it, they're gonna write you a bad review. You get a bad review, you're gonna get sanctioned, or you're gonna have to get money back, or it's gonna cost you. So oftentimes Airbnb, they'll look back on the thread, they'll say, hey, this guy's asking for a refund because you never responded regarding how to work the remote control for the TV, or how to work the cable, or something like that, something mundane. So you have to respond to everything, and even though there isn't always a solution, you have to try to find one. It could end up costing you all the money you might have earned for the whole month. So it's very limiting. I myself, I like to travel, I like to go do things, and it's a real pain when you get those messages from Airbnb guests and you have to find someone to go there, or you're out to dinner with your friends and oh, they broke your plumbing, or you know, they're flooding your house. I mean, I've even had Airbnb guests burn a house down. Literally. I had them burn a house down. Airbnb, they didn't pay a dime. My insurance paid for it all, but Airbnb, they didn't pay anything. They said they're gonna pay me. I got nothing from them. So just keep that in mind. They're not gonna probably pay you for damages, and you're gonna be severely limited in your options during your free time. Con number 4, your place gets really run down. Now, when I have apartment rentals, people take good care of them because they know if they don't take care of it, they're gonna have to pay out their deposit. Plus, they live there. So, you know, nobody wants to live in a trashed house. They try to take good care of it. But Airbnb, no, man. People do not take good care of your place. Not only do they throw parties, have outings. I have one house where it's really beautiful old oak hardwood floors. So I request people don't use the shoes in the house. They wear their shoes, they wear high heels. They leave all these, there's all these indentures all over the hardwood from people walking on my floor with hardwood floors. I have cigarette burns from people dropping cigarettes inside the house on the floor, not putting the cigarette out. So they leave a cigarette trail, like a burn trail. I can see the outline of the cigarette. I mean, they don't take care of your place. Your towels, all your stuff, your sheets are gonna get stained. You know, people bleed on your mattresses and stuff. If they live there, I know they wouldn't do that. But because they don't care. They think it as a hotel, they figure, hey, I paid for it, I'm gonna use it. They leave trash all over in your yard. I mean, much more abuse. So your house is gonna get really run down. Like I said, I've had up to 20 Airbnbs at a time, and it's just a lot of maintenance, a lot of painting. I'd say it's 10 times more than a rental, easily, if not more. You're gonna be replacing your sheets pretty often, so I wouldn't invest in really expensive sheets or bedding, because they're either gonna get stolen, or people are gonna make holes in them, or they're gonna stain them with who knows what. I've had people grab my brand new linens, you know, high count Egyptian cotton, you know, this and that, and they use them to like check the motor oil in their car. They're staying with motor oil. So people are not gonna respect your place. They're gonna think that, oh, this person is making a lot of money and I paid for it, so I deserve it. So it's gonna really run down your place. Con number 5, work. I love the work, but I don't like to waste my time. And I do a cost-benefit analysis. And my cost-benefit analysis is Airbnb is not worth it. I'm actually out of it. I transitioned out, I did a cost-benefit analysis, and once I took into account all the time they didn't pay me, all the damage from gas, all the rundown on my properties, it was not worth it. You know, I have friends that do Uber and Lyft, and it seems really great, but when you break it down, they tell me minimum wage in California is $15. They tell me they make about $8 an hour, half minimum wage. And they get all the damage to their car from all the mileage. But it seems like you're getting a lot. A lot of times, you know, you're getting paid gross wages. They don't take the taxes out you're gonna have to pay. They don't consider all the maintenance on your vehicle. They don't think about all the downtime between the rides when you're doing Uber and Lyft. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, they felt like they were getting exploited by these companies. And I feel the same way. I think Airbnb pretty much exploits people. So I don't think, unless you live in a place that is not regulated, where you can make, you know, double or triple what you normally would in rent, that's worth it. But if you can't, and you're making just about what you can, it's not really worth it. Trust me, you're gonna have a lot of issues. It's gonna be a big drain on you. You're gonna have waste a lot of time talking with people. You're gonna have people using fake IDs, fake accounts, stealing your stuff, having parties, pissing off your neighbors, fighting with your neighbors. I mean, not cool. It's gonna be a lot of problems. And con number 6, as I mentioned before, regulations. So keep that in mind. If you don't have regulations where you live, that's great. But if they're coming down the pipeline, be ready. Because I know people that have bought properties or leased multiple properties to rent them on Airbnb, and then the city started new regulations and severely limited your ability to make money and to rent on Airbnb. So I ended up losing money. They're stuck with these long-term leases or with these properties that they didn't really want. So just keep all that in mind. So again, there are some pros, but there are many more cons. And I would say the only time I would consider it is if you have some spaces that are kind of undesirable or really off the beaten path. You can charge a premium. If you can charge a premium for a place, then it's worth it. But otherwise, for everyday people, not worth it. Now, as a guest, I love it. When I travel, I do use Airbnbs sometimes, because now there's so many fees and taxes involved. It's very rare that I find an Airbnb that's cheaper than a hotel. Very rare. It's almost always cheaper to rent a hotel than it is Airbnb. Airbnb is very expensive now. However, if I have a large group and I need a big house, then it is cheaper. And I can have a real nice experience with a house by the ocean or something like that. Then it's cool. But as a host, not worth it. Look for another investment. So thank you again for listening. And from Colombia, this is Dr. Ernesto Martinez. Thank you. Goodbye.